The Hua had just survived his tribulation and awakened at Kunlun Mountain. After a brief chat with his master, Mo Yuan, he headed back to the Heavenly Palace. But right at the gate, Siming intercepted him, looking frantic. He told the Hua that Bai Qian had just gouged out Su Jin's eyes, and the main hall was in complete chaos. The Hua's heart sank. Had she remembered? Had Bai Qian finally remembered she was Su? He was about to rush off to find her, but Siming held him back, urging him to calm down. A plan began to form in the Hua's mind. He ordered Siming to fetch his second and third uncles, bring Yuan's, and even locate the puppet Susu he had encountered in the mortal realm. Just then, Sangji, his second uncle, arrived. The Hua assured him that today, Yuan Zhen's name would be cleared. Sangji was hesitant to pursue the matter, feeling guilty about his past actions and grateful that Bai Qian had protected his son. But the Hua and Lian Song insisted. This was about Yuan Zhen's innocence. The truth had to come out. With everyone gathered, the Hua led the group into the main hall. Inside, Su Jin was putting on a performance for the Heavenly Lord, crying about how Bai Qian had bullied her.
As the Hua entered, she scrambled to his side, clinging to his leg and begging him to avenge her.
But then, the puppet Susu was brought in, and it knelt before Su Jin, calling her Your Majesty. Su Jin's face went white with terror. In front of the entire court, the Hua exposed her scheme. He revealed the puppet's true form and explained how Su Jin had created it to tempt him during his mortal trial. According to heavenly law, this crime was punishable by being reborn as an animal, never to ascend again. But that wasn't all. The Heavenly Lord then questioned why Yuan Zuan was present. Yuan Zhen stepped forward and recounted the entire story of how Su Jin had framed him for assaulting her all those years ago. Su Jin vehemently denied it, but the Emperor Deng Hua pointed out the flaws in her story. How could Yuan Zuan, on his first visit, have so easily found her specific palace, and even if he knew the location, how could he pinpoint her private chambers? The evidence was damning. Framing a celestial prince was another grave offense, also punishable by eternal animal rebirth. Su Jin broke down, screaming her innocence and pleading with the Hua not to be so heartless. But the Heavenly Lord's disappointment was palpable. He sentenced Su Jin to guard the Ruashui River, a fate she had once claimed she would volunteer for. With Su Jin's downfall complete, the Heavenly Lord turned to the Hua. It was time, he declared, for the wedding between him and Bai Qian to proceed. Congratulations rang through the hall, but the Hua felt a deep unease. Now that Bai Qian remembered everything, how would she face him? His mother, Consort Lasu, asked about a wedding date. The Hua recalled Bai Qian once saying the second day of the 9th month was auspicious. He told his mother firmly that no matter what happened in the past, Bai Qian was the only one he would ever want. After the court dismissed, Feng Zhu caught up to the Emperor Deng Hua. She asked him a question that had been weighing on her heart. If he had erased his name from the 3 live stone, would he have liked her? The Emperor walked away without answering. But Feng Zhu wasn't giving up.
She smiled and followed him, promising to keep asking until he finally gave her an answer.
Bai Qian returned to the fox cave
And coldly told me Jiyu that from today onwards Chinku would be closed off and she would not see anyone.
The Hua arrived at the fox cave, and Mi Ju came out to convey Bai Qian's order not to see anyone. The Hua only told Qian that he would wait for her there until Bai Qian was willing to see him.
The Hua waited at the entrance of Chinku Cave every day. Bai Qian's confession to him replayed in his mind again and again.
Bai Qian tried to drown her sorrows in wine in the cave, but her sorrow only deepened. Bai Qian did not know that the Hua had married her 300 years ago because Su Jin had remarried the Heavenly Emperor. She also did not know whether the Hua's current kindness to her was merely because he felt guilty after she jumped off the Juxian terrace. Bai Qian asked Mi Ju to tell the Hua that she would not see him and that she would go to the Heavenly Clan the next day to annul the engagement. The Hua asked Mi Ju to deliver a message. If the maid he brought back from the mortal realm to serve his mother was considered a peach blossom, then would Bai Qian's words about binding him back to Chinku and locking him up still hold true? Upon hearing Mi Jiu's relayed message, Bai Qian smashed a wine jar and Get out! Tell him to get out! I don't want to see him for even a second! The Hua remained waiting at the cave entrance in the cold rain, refusing to move an inch, his eyes fixed on the fox den, just staring. Jai Yun went to the peach grove to ask Cheyenne and Bai Zuhan if they could persuade Bai Qian, the goddess. Bai Zuan and Ji Yan both advised that the couple's affairs were their own to handle, and that Bai Qian would be fine once the anger over the grievances she suffered back then subsided in a few days. The emperor was still uneasy about the Eastern Bell, and decided to personally go to the Ruoshui River to check on it. Feng Ju followed behind him. The emperor instructed Ximing to protect Feng Ju no matter what happened. When the emperor and his entourage arrived at the Eastern Bell, since the emperor had lost all his magical power, none of them knew the soul-tracking technique. Feng Ju stepped forward and told the emperor that Jian and her aunt had taught her this technique. Feng Ju went to examine Qing Kang's primordial spirit and was shocked to find that Qing Kang's primordial spirit was not inside the Eastern Bell. Li Jing spent several days building an altar in the great purple bright palace. The winged realm generals, enraged, rebelled, demanding Li Jing's abdication. Suddenly, Li Jing was surrounded by enemies. It turned out that Qing Kang had used the blood and bones of the three siblings to create a curse, and Li Jing could use his own blood to summon Qing Kang's spirit. He planned to settle things with Qing Kang at the altar in the great purple bright palace and restore peace to the world. Qing Kang, summoned by Li Jing, struggled within the Eastern Emperor Bell, but was ultimately recalled to the winged realm. Qing Kang angrily berated Li Jing for daring to imprison his spirit. Li Jing enumerated Qing Kang's numerous crimes and resolved to perish together with him. However, to Li Jing's utter surprise, Qing Kang brought out the Fangshan halberd from the Eastern Emperor Bell. Li Jing originally intended to imprison Qing Kang's primordial spirit in the great purple bright palace to settle things with Qing Kang. However, he did not expect Qing Kang to bring out the Fangshan halberd. Not only did he fail to kill Qing Kang's primordial spirit, but he was killed by Qing Kang instead. Because of Li Jing's death, Qing Kang gained tens of thousands of years of cultivation. Qing Kang vowed to make the whole world perish with him, and to destroy heaven and earth. Qing Kang's magical power greatly increased, and the Eastern Emperor Bell was about to break. Feng Ju was thrown back by the force of the bell. The emperor called out to Jiuer and caught her. Kunlun Mountain was too far away, so the emperor told Tian Shu to hurry to Qingku. To find Bai Qian knew about the sealing magic, and the emperor decided to use his primordial spirit to stop Qing Kang. Feng Ju stopped the emperor, telling him that if he lived, she would live. If he died, she would not live alone.
Qing Kang's magical power broke through the Eastern Emperor Bell,
and Feng Ju stood in front of the emperor, seriously injured. Ximing came to invite Bai Qian to the Ruoshui River. Bai Qian was alarmed, fearing that the Eastern Emperor Bell was about to break again. Finally, she left the fox den. The Hua grabbed Bai Qian's sleeve, but Bai Qian shook off his hand and ignored him. The Hua followed behind her, all the way to the Ruoshui River. When Bai Qian arrived, the Ruoshui River was filled with towering white waves and heavy black clouds pressed down in the sky. The tower-like Dongguang Bell swayed on the banks of the Ruoshui River, and even this land rumbled and trembled. Sujin saw that things were going badly and secretly ran away. Bai Qian sensed something was wrong and rushed to the Eastern Emperor Bell, ready to fight Qing Kang. However, her body was suddenly frozen in place, and the Hua used magic to pull her back to the shore. Bai Qian cried out, "The Hua! What are you doing? Let me go!" The Hua handed Bai Qian over to the god of fate and the earth god on the shore, saying, "Your cultivation is no match for Qing Kang now. Let me handle this." Bai Qian cried out in despair, "The Hua, you gave your cultivation to Master, so you are even less able to defeat him now. You are going to your death." The Hua did not answer. Holding his sword, he rushed into the clouds against the wind. Qing Kang broke free from the seal within the Eastern Emperor Bell, and the lightning and thunder of their battle reached the heavens.
Bai Qian watched as the Hua fought fiercely with Qing Kang in the sky, but she was helpless to break free from the Hua's immobilization spell.
Her heart was filled with sorrow. Qing Kang and the Hua fought fiercely, their battle raging on the banks of the Ruashi River, sending dust and sand flying everywhere. Finally, they both fell to the ground, severely injured.
Bai Qian's immobilization spell lifted.
And she flew forward to support the Hua. Qing Kang laughed 3 times and coughed, saying, "Today I lost to you. You're not convinced."
If it weren't for my rebellious son damaging my vital energy today,
And the bell further weakening me, I would never have lost to you, you brat.
the Hua, supported by Bai Qian, slowly stood up and said, "You have ultimately lost."
Just then, the Eastern Emperor Bell erupted with a blood-red light, causing panic among the crowd. The Hua suddenly looked up and asked Qing Kang in a deep voice, "What did you do to the Eastern Emperor Bell?" Qing Kang smiled smugly and weakly replied that he had spent 70,000 years linking his life to the Eastern Emperor Bell. If he died, the Eastern Emperor Bell would unleash the Red Lotus karmic fire. Qing Kang arrogantly declared that he would make the entire world pay for his death. The Eastern Emperor Bell was unstoppable, its crimson flames scorching half the sky. Without a word, the Hua flew forward again. But Bai Qian was desperately stopped by Bai Zuan. She could only plead with the Hua to return from the banks of the Ruashi River. The Hua looked at Bai Qian from afar, then turned resolutely and sacrificed his own primordial spirit to the Eastern Emperor Bell. Finally, the Eastern Emperor Bell returned to stillness, its red light flashing a few times before extinguishing. A black figure fell from the Eastern Emperor Bell, and Bai Qian staggered and flew up to catch the Hua. Gasped, "Qian, I have only ever loved one person in my life. Don't forget me." The Hua's voice gradually faded. Bai Qian leaned close to his ear and shouted, "You can't die, the Hua! If you dare to die, I'll go find Xian, get that potion, and forget you completely."
The Hua's body trembled, and he forced a smile.
He said,
"That's fine too." The Hua's last words to Bai Qian in this world were these words, "That's fine too."
Siming rushed back to the heavenly palace, his face pale as he reported the devastating news.
The Crown Prince the Hua had sacrificed his primordial spirit to the Eastern Emperor Bell. The moment the words left his lips, Lady Lasu collapsed in a dead faint. All across the 9 heavens, a deep sorrow fell. On the distant Kunlun mountain, the ancient bells began to toll mournfully. Mo Yuan, deep in meditation, felt a sharp, sudden pang in his heart. He knew, with a dreadful certainty, that someone had just made the ultimate sacrifice to the bell. Meanwhile, on the banks of the Ruashi River, Bai Qian had erected a powerful barrier of light. Inside, she cradled the Hua's lifeless body, her eyes vacant and staring into nothingness. She wouldn't speak, wouldn't move, just held him tight, shutting out the entire world. The Heavenly Emperor sent his celestial guards to retrieve the Hua's body, but they were powerless against Bai Qian's magic. Even the wise Jian could only sigh in despair, murmuring, "It seems she'll spend the rest of her days right here, holding him." Just as all hope seemed lost, a figure descended from the sky. It was Mo Yuan. The sight of her master finally broke through Bai Qian's wall of grief.
She dispelled the barrier, her voice trembling as she pleaded,
"Master! There must be a way to save him. Isn't there? There must be a way."
Mo Yuan knelt down, gently checking for any sign of life in the Hue. A profound sadness filled his eyes. 17, he said softly. "Prepare a coffin. The Hua. He's gone!" But Bai Qian refused to believe it. "No!" she cried out,
her voice raw with pain.
"When you sacrificed your spirit to the bell, everyone told me you were gone forever, that you had vanished into thin air. I didn't believe them then, and I waited."
"And you came back."
"I waited 70,000 years. And you returned. Mo Yuan looked at his devastated disciple with immense pity. 17, he advised gently. Even if you must wait, you need to find a proper place to lay him to rest. His words finally reached her. With a new sense of purpose, Bai Qian carefully lifted the Hua and took him back to her home.
The Heavenly Emperor's guards followed, kneeling outside the fox den for days and nights,
Begging for the return of their crown prince's body. But Bai Qian wouldn't yield, and they were eventually forced to return empty-handed. Inside the cave, she stayed by the Hui's side, never leaving him for a moment. Back in the heavenly palace, justice was swift.
The Heavenly Emperor was furious with Su Jin.
She had not only deserted her post during the battle, but had also failed to warn anyone about the Eastern Emperor Bel's instability, leaving the Hua to face the catastrophe alone. For her crimes, she was stripped of her title and banished from the 9 heavens, never to return. With all other options exhausted, the Heavenly Emperor had no choice but to ask the former Heavenly Lord to intervene. And so, the old Emperor, along with the Huas, Mother Lady Lasu, and his brothers, traveled to Qing. The moment Lady Lasu saw Bai Qian, she trembled with rage. When you were the mortal Susu, she seethed. The Hua was willing to give up his crown for you. He took 3 months of lightning strikes on your behalf. He even jumped from the Juxian terrace after you. What right do you have to keep his body now? What right do you have to prevent his own mother from taking him home?
Bai Qian stood before them, her throat so tight with unshed tears that she could unspeak a single word in her own defense.
All she could do was stand guard over the man she loved. Thanks for watching! If you want to know what happens next, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel.